What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders Awakened. We are here on Tornado Valley, Massacre, Survival, Hardcore, and Rifted mode, and the objective here is I am working on an ancient set of gear for my hybrid monk. Now this map at Wave 25 is going to give you a militia helmet and an ancient pair of boots. Of course, we are looking for the ancient boots. Now, this map is a lower tier map, so it is a little bit of a challenge getting quality pieces of gear, and it's going to be one of those maps you have to grind just a little bit. But let's go ahead and start things off here with 5 DSTs right here on this little elevated platform. I'm going to go with all of these DSTs are going to be facing one of two ways. Either we're going to have the left edge just covering this lane, which is going to cover that area, or we're going to have the right edge just covering this lane. So it's going to be covering those 3 lanes plus that flyer lane. Now I'm going to go ahead and go with one more DST over here on this side. Same thing, just barely covering that edge. And then we're going to go with 2 more right in the front, one each way. So one covering the right, and the other covering the left. Now we want to go ahead and get our lanes set up. Now I am in all fusion gear here on these characters, so I do have fusion electric auras, fusion DSTs, and fusion gas traps, and then fusion ensnares, even though it's kind of a crappy set. I'll go through all the stats on those in just a moment. We want to go ahead and get a electric aura right here, and then an ensnare aura as well, making sure that we're getting ample coverage on both lanes. Now additionally here, we want to go ahead and throw a gas trap right in the middle. The gas trap's coverage is going to be a little bit sketchy. It's not going to give you a great lane coverage, but we're still going to use it to cover both lanes. Now heading on over to this side of the map, this lane right here will be our weak lane, as it is just the weakest lane available. We want to hug this right wall with an ensnare aura and then an electric aura as well, and then we can just throw that gas trap just right down in the middle. And then now over on this lane we've got another opportunity for double coverage. The reason we moved that stuff over to the right was so that we could fit our electric aura stack and our ensnare auras right here to cover both of these lanes. Now, depending on your range setup, it will be different placement. Just try to center it as best as possible here with these 2 lanes available. And then we're going to want a gas trap, same thing, just centered on both of the lanes there. Now, as you see, this leaves us 12 DU for some buff beams. Now, the buff beams, I do have fusion buff beams set up. However, we're not going to keep that character in the deck. So we're not going to get the bonus of having that fusion armor set. For my gas traps here, my main priority was range. On my hybrid boost monk, same thing here, main priority is range. Here is my really weak area here. This is a tower booster, and I've got terrible skill rating, so very low there. I'm trying to improve that, but as far as the ensnare goes, mainly we're just looking for the range. On our apprentice, we've got fusion DSTs, full power all day, every day on those DSTs. And this is really the most crucial defense in the build. So if you have fusion DST set up, you can do either this build or a variation of the build. However, I probably wouldn't recommend jumping into it without having fusion DST set up. And then we've got our electric auras. Main stat here is power. Secondary stat is range, making sure we get some decent coverage. Now, as I mentioned, I am going to bring along some buff beams. However, I'm not going to keep that one in the deck. But this is a look at my beamer here and the stats available there. Now here, of course, I won't be getting the benefit of the fusion armor set. And here, it's pretty much full on power. You do want to get the fortify up to 3906 on your buff beams. That way you can get the resistance cap on walls for maps that need walls. Now we're going to take this last 12 DU, we're going to throw 1 buff beam right here, covering all of those. We're going to drop 3 upgrades on it, and then we're going to drop 2 upgrades on that electric aura up top. Moving over to this lane, we're not going to put a buff beam here since this is the weakest lane, but here I'm going to want to get 3 upgrades onto that electric aura, and then moving back to the DSTs for a buff beam here. You want to make sure you're getting just a 4 DU buff beam here, and then this one we're going to go ahead and upgrade all of the way. Now that leaves us 4 left, and of course that is going right here for another buff beam. On this lane we're going to do 3 upgrades on the buff beam. We're going to go 3 upgrades on the electric aura, and that leaves it so all of our DU is now spent. Now, if you don't have fusion sets set up and all you have is your DSTs, then what I would suggest is dropping this down to 4 DSTs instead of 5. You can eliminate one of the DSTs that is pointing this direction, since that's the heavier side, and that's going to free up 8 DU. With that 8 DU, I would put a 4 DU physical wall right across this area, and a 4 DU physical wall right across this area as well. Now, with the fusion, either having the fusion ensnares or the fusion gas traps makes it so you don't have to worry about those walls, and then that's where I throw in that extra DST. Now, we do have 2,500 mana left, so I'm just going to go ahead and spend that here on these DSTs, just kind of upgrading them evenly all the way around as best as I can. And it is important on this one to make sure you're bringing along a speedy gemstone. This map does have very high mob counts. However, the majority of the mobs are very, very squishy, so a DST is going to one-shot them. You want that speedy going, that way you're getting more of those shots fired. Now, throughout the course of the map, all you really have to focus on is tower boosting. Now, you are going to get some Rifted Ogres coming out, and those Rifted Ogres, if they throw at you, they're going to blow this DST stack up. So you do want to watch for the Rifted Ogres as they come out, and make sure that you're jumping so that Rifted Projectile doesn't explode. Make sure you're clearing the Rifted Projectile, no doubt. The rest of the time, it doesn't really require any DPS. Of course, keeping an eye out for any enemies that do sneak through is never a bad idea. And with this setup, the Copter Ogres just come directly into line with the DSTs, so you can completely ignore the Copter Ogres altogether, and the DSTs are going to pop those off. Even without fantastic range, it's still going to get them before they're in an area where the Ogres can actually land. So no worries at all about the Copter Ogres on this one, and we're just going to focus on keeping our tower boost up the entire time to make sure these DSTs are all dishing out the one-shots. This map is a bit of a meat grinder. One of the reasons I like this build is it runs pretty quick. You can really regularly get this build done in under 10 minutes, and that's what it's all about on these lower difficulty Rifted Survival maps, where RNG is just not on your side as far as getting a quality piece of fusion gear goes. Now, no alternative there. You have to get the gear from this map. This is going to be the best place to get it. So you're just not going to get those ancient boots that you're looking for in a higher tier. So going to have to grind it out on this one and pray to the RNG gods and make sure that they are on your side. So as I said, this one is just a bit of a meat grinder, so I'm going to jump on forward to the final wave. What I'm going to do with the mana throughout is just upgrade what needs repairs. So Ensnare Aura needs a repair here, Electric Aura needs a repair, so I'm going to throw some upgrades on those. Rinse and repeat throughout the rest of the map. So instead of repairing anything, I'm just going to upgrade whatever needs to be upgraded. Now, any leftover mana over the course of the wave, pump directly into the DSTs, and you will be in good shape. So as you see, we've got 3,000 left over. We can juice these DSTs up just a little bit farther, and that's going to make them even more effective for everything in the mix. So just even upgrades here, no real priority on what to upgrade first. And let's jump on to the last wave and get this map all closed out. And here we are on wave 25. Now, one important thing to note, if you don't have the fusion set up yet, and you're trying to just get your initial pieces, and all you have is your DSTs going, you are going to lose those 2 walls. Now, the reason I say that is it's going to be to your benefit to not run over and repair the walls, just let them drop. The way this map is designed, there's just a ton of space where you're going to be able to fire into the enemies as they're approaching the core if you do lose a wall. So if you go with the 4 DSTs and 1 less wall, you're going to be in much better shape just keeping your speedy gemstone over at your DSTs and not sweating it if a wall drops. Just plan to rebuild the wall in between waves. We got another trickle of mana over here I can snag up. Oh yeah, that'll be enough for another DST upgrade, no doubt. And then see if we can't blaze through wave number 25 here. Now, as I said, this is just a meat grinder, this map is. 1,183 mobs solo on Rift mode. I mean, that's a lot of mobs, considering the mob counts are cut in half from the regular survival. So this map does turn into a bit of a meat grinder. You have to just sit here and wait for things to die off for you. However, the DSTs just pack a mean punch. With that speedy going, they're popping rounds off left and right, so basically every time the DST fires, an enemy dies, and you're going to burn through the mobs, but it is no doubt quite the meat grinder. So just staying over here and keeping our speedy engaged onto those DSTs is 100% the way to go. You see, the electric cars are burning out a lot of the smaller mobs, but of course they're not going to do much to anything that's a little bit healthier, and there you're going to need that DST to take some pot shots. So we're past the halfway mark now. We've got about 400 and change mobs left, and pretty smooth altogether. Now, as I mentioned, when the ogres come out, you do want to pay attention, as if an ogre throws at you and your stack here, it's going to blow up the stack if it's a rift ogre throwing that rifted kobold as its first projectile. So make sure you're paying attention there. Jump out of the way, let the kobold fly right over the top of your DSTs and in between you and them, and you won't have any issues. Now, as you gain a little bit more power, you'll find that you can completely ignore that step altogether and just watch the ogres die off, as they're just not going to throw prior to the DSTs being able to kill them. And there we go. That was a Wave 23 start, and let's take a look at the loots. So here's our boots right here. Another disappointing pair of boots, no doubt. I've got a decent set now, but I'd really like one a little bit more fine-tuned and potentially even a higher roll. But of course we know we've also got a piece of militia gear, a militia headpiece in the mix as well. Actually, there it is right there. Not an absolutely terrible militia headpiece, that's for sure. However, that's not the set we're looking for today. We were looking for an ancient set. And back to the drawing board on this one, as just did not get the boots I'm looking for. But that will do it for now. Thank you all an absolute ton for watching. Make sure to click that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a ton of new player tutorials hitting over the next weeks as we await the launch of Xbox. So if there's anything in particular super early game that you feel like would be a big benefit to help out new players as they start their experience, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. But that will do it for now, y'all. Thanks a ton, and I will see ya next time around. Take it easy.